Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our town hall for July 20th. Our town halls are virtual spaces to try to get together. In particular, today, we are going to continue to talk about reopening and the fall. I have a series of campus leaders and members of the reopening group that I'd like to ask to give you updates. I'm going to be asking that Dana Trimboli and a few other members of the team keep an eye on the chat so that we don't let the questions get stuck in there. So we'll try our best to address everybody's concerns and questions. First of all, thank you for all the members of the reopening group for meeting as often as you have and for your feedback. We did present our reopening plan to the university and we did receive it back with some questions around particular matters that we will hear about today. Specifically, we are preparing to be back on campus and to be ready for the fall. And I very much want you to continue to ask the questions you need answered, to exercise as much patience as you can, right? And to understand that this is going to be a work in progress. You all know that in the national, in the state, and in the city news on a day-to-day basis, we have quite a bit of conversation about how reopening is going to happen. And depending on the setting, and of course, depending on the situation, each of those things will be happening differently. So I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank you for your ongoing communication. And I want to thank you for everything that I already know that we're going to be doing to be back in person as much as possible, but also to be safe and up to date with the CUNY and other mandates as we receive them. So with that, thank you for your presence again. I'm going to hand it over to Russell Plastic, to our college attorney, to talk a little bit about our reopening plan. And after that, I will move on to our VP of Admin and Finance. And then from there, I will ask for HR update. So thank you so much for your patience.
And good afternoon. Let me start by maybe just bringing everybody to the same place procedurally where we're at. And apologies to the reopening committee because some of this will be a little bit repetitive. Yes, we have prepared a plan for returning to campus fall 2021 in accord with various guidance that we received from CUNY. The plan was reviewed by the reopening committee and as a whole, comments were submitted and incorporated, and the plan was submitted to CUNY, which in turn has since returned it to the college with some comments of its own. The comments largely followed changes in policy that took place while the plan was in the hands of CUNY. There are, at this time, a few outstanding questions that still need to be resolved, specifically regarding the extent of mask usage and the extent of social distancing. The college has been reaching out to various constituencies, including the reopening committee, to provide input. The intention of the college is to resolve these questions and have a final plan by the end of today, which we will in turn, of course, post and share with the larger community. We wanted to, in particular, as to the faculty and staff that are on this chat, to highlight some very important pieces of that plan because they're not going to be changed. They're going to be part of the final plan that's issued. As you know, CUNY has directed that we will be returning to campus as of August 2nd. And as you also know, that is still within the time frame for summer hours. There'll be 2 more weeks of the 4-day work week as of August 2nd. For those first 2 weeks, the expectation will be that staff will begin working in person 2 of the 4 days. And then the last 2 days, they would continue to distance from home. Once summer hours are done and we go back to our normal 5-day work week, the expectation will be is that all employees work a 3-day work week in person at the college, and the last 2 days will be remote from home. How those will be scheduled and implemented is left somewhat to department by department. But we wanted to get that out to everybody today and let them know. I also want to jump ahead of Dana a little bit, and I see a couple questions that are important and related to the reopening plan. Starting right at the beginning, there's a question regarding whether current events in the news, the Delta variant, et cetera, is affecting the plan in any way. At this time, there's no intention to make any change to the plan based on that. However, you should be aware that the original plan, as well as the current fall plan, does provide for monitoring of trends in numbers, et cetera, and provides a mechanism for changing the plan should events so require. So that has been anticipated, but there is no change in the current plan as it stands. There is a question regarding vaccination for fall 2021. I'm assuming that is from a student. The CUNY has mandated that students must be vaccinated after emergency authorization is lifted on the current vaccines in the market. That has not happened as of yet. We do not know a date when the emergency status will be lifted, but that is the main guideline and the rule that we'll be following. Upon lifting of the emergency status, all students who are in person on campus will have to be vaccinated. Let's see if there's any others that I wanted to respond to. I see the vaccination question several times, so I understand that that is a question for everybody. Okay, so that's where we're at. The hope is that by the end of the day today, we will have the full plan issued. However, those are the two remaining issues that we need to resolve. As I said, we are receiving input from the various constituencies, and the administration is taking all of that into consideration and making its final decision. I think that's all I have to present at this time. I'm not sure if we want to take questions just yet, or we want to have other individuals present their information first. President, I'll leave that to you.
You said this, no matter what you do, yours is in your brain. You need something, you need something for that.
We've been trying to, I've been trying to answer some, this is Dana, some of the questions in the chat. First day of class is Wednesday, August 25th. I believe Russell answered some of the other questions. There is a question, will employees' workday be staggered? So not all employees are home and offices are closed when students cannot get in touch with the departments. There is going to be some staggered work schedules, and I believe Sabrina Johnson Chandler will be sharing some of that information in a little bit. So I don't want to jump over her there. There are some questions about vaccines and student requirements, and I will be talking about that a little later on. So we can put those to the side for the moment. And then, oh, I'm sorry, President.
That's all right. Thank you, Dana. So let's continue to keep the chat active and be patient with us noting things to the side that we need to come back to. I'll ask all the members of the reopening team and others to keep an eye if we haven't come back to something that we do that. I'm going to ask Charles, are you there? I know we weren't sure.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great. If you don't mind, you want to talk to the community a little bit about what's been going on campus, about the facilities, the items that you've been updating.
Sure.
Thank you.
Please excuse my how I just came off the beach. I'm on vacation. First off, the installation of MERV 14 filters, which is the recommended level of filtration by the CDC, has been completed across the campus on all air handlers that accept filters. So we are completely up to date and ready to move forward with that from that regard. We are also in the midst of doing a project, this is done by DASNY on an emergency basis, to install UV lights in the air handlers, which cleanse the air that goes through them. That is sort of state of the art from an air filtration and cleansing standpoint. That project will be done within about a month or so. It won't be ready for August 2nd. Originally, it was intended to be ready by August 2nd, but they've pushed that off by a couple of weeks. They are working on it. But again, that's being managed by DASNY, so unfortunately, we don't have direct control over that. As Russell mentioned, there'll be the final guidelines and report will be issued later today. We did receive the independent evaluation of our heating and ventilation systems that was performed by CUNY. CUNY hired an external independent firm to do an evaluation of all 240 buildings across all of CUNY. The good news is that all of our buildings passed inspection. The air handlers passed inspections. There is one air handler that needs to be replaced. That only impacts one lecture hall in the high school building. So we will need to reschedule whatever's been scheduled there for the fall. But that will be that air handler will be replaced in the next 3 months, and that will be done once it's replaced. We can go back to using that one lecture hall again. So that is again slightly beyond our control, but that will happen. But we're very pleased that the HVAC systems passed inspections, and we are actually in very good shape, much better shape than many of the other CUNY campuses. The other thing I'll say is, obviously, we've been cleaning extensively. We have purchased electrostatic cleaners to utilize across campus, and those will be utilized on an ongoing basis. We'll also be providing, on the first day back on campus on August 2nd, we'll be also be providing disinfectant wipes so folks can pick up a canister and cleanse their own area, their own computer, and ensure that their own personal workspace is clean and ready for them to use. Obviously, everything's been cleaned over the last year and a half, but this will allow folks to focus on their own personal space and take care of themselves. That is the only updates that I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Charles, I'm just looking in the chat, and I apologize that my camera is not on. I'm trying to work through some technical issues as well.
Yeah.
So there's some questions about the air ducts being cleaned. If we want to just talk a little bit.
Sure. So yeah, every register and return has been removed in every single room, and those have all been cleaned and are being reinstalled. So that's never been done before, as far as I can see. So we're in a good place from that perspective. And I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so I really can't see the chat. If there's anything else out there, you need to tell me.
So there's some questions. There seems to be some questions about labs being ADA compliant. I believe someone asked what the room numbers are for those labs. If there was a particular concern in a lab.
Those specifics at that level, I can't answer.
Yep. So we need some room numbers, and we can follow up privately on those. If we want to put those in the chat. Again, there's a number of questions about vaccines. I will be giving some of those updates in a little bit. President, there is a question about enrollment and concerns that folks have overall about student enrollment. The question is, what seems to be the issue with student enrollment? I have noticed that even basic freshman courses that fill up have single-digit registration. Is that true for all classes? Previously, by this time, the numbers are usually solid.
So what I will share is the enrollment across CUNY is down and our enrollment is down. There are a couple of things that we've been trying to do. VP Karen is not with us today, but I also will take your questions. As it relates to year-over-year numbers, before we're off the meeting, I can probably get you a percentage. Our concern currently is that all the students are getting the advising assistance that they need. I know that the advising center has been working very hard to reach out to students. I know that the registrar and the bursar are working in partnership to make sure, of course, with financial aid, that students get what they need. We are encouraging the students to register, and for the department chairs to work with the continuing students around advisement so that the numbers can continue to go up. I know that the Office of Academic Affairs and the provost have been working with the departments to give them extra assistance in the area of academic advising in the majors. So what we really do have to keep on doing is just push it to get everybody the information that they need. There are quite a few people that speculate that the numbers also are down because students were waiting to know whether or not at what level we would be in person and what they wanted to do with their schedules. I don't know that that is true or anecdotal, but yes, our enrollment is down across CUNY and down at York, and we're doing everything that we can together as a group to work on that. So I'm going to move ahead. Dana, keep an eye on the chat. I'm going to move ahead and ask Sabrina to give an HR update, and then Provost, I'm coming your way. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I too apologize for not having my camera accessible. So I'll start with answering a question that I just saw in the chat. I was just about to type a response. So employees, as Dana put in the chat, are not mandated to be vaccinated. However, those who are not fully vaccinated or who do not disclose their vaccination status will be required to submit to a weekly COVID-19 surveillance test. So we don't have the logistics of how that is going to work quite yet from the university, but that was recently announced in the guidelines for fall reopening. Also, those employees who are not fully vaccinated or who do not disclose their vaccination status will be required to wear face coverings while on the campus, in the campus buildings. So those would be two requirements that have been made definitive once we get back to the building in the fall. And basically that is meant to ensure that we keep everyone in the York community as safe as possible. Regular testing will not be required for those who are vaccinated. And I did see a question as to how it gets established that you're fully vaccinated. We don't have the logistics of that quite yet as well. And so we'll share that information as it becomes available to us. There also will be some requirement for physical distancing. So, and that again speaks to the potential of having folks, employees on campus who are vaccinated and those who are not. And so I think that speaks to a question that came up earlier about the staggered schedule. So part of the rationale of having some people on campus some days and not on others is so that we can have some flexibility for social distancing, because that will also continue because we'll have sort of a mixed population of vaccinated folk. I think the only other item that I would highlight at this time, couple of things. The plan is that the Everbridge self-reporting screening app that we will not be using in the fall. Also, the return to work training that had been mandated by the state when we first, at the beginning of the pandemic, when we had folks coming to campus, that will no longer be required. And for those individuals who find themselves unable to be vaccinated for medical reasons, or once you're presented with your telework schedule, you feel that you have a disability related issue that prevents you from coming to campus, you can inquire about a reasonable accommodation. You would contact our manager of benefits and payroll, Elgin Ford, and I'll provide his contact information once I'm done. And we will take you through that process and evaluate whether that is an option for you. The same goes with if you have family related issues. So I think schools pretty much are planning to be reopened, but if you had a childcare issue or, care of a family member type of issue, those are things that as an employee, you can talk to us in HR and we will work through what the issue is and figure out what options are available to you. I think that's pretty much it. So thank you for your attention.
All right, Dana, you'll help me with the chat question specifically. I know that Sabrina's going to post the information about Elgin and anyone else that needs to. The telework information has gone out. I will be asking that Sabrina send out some HR updates, probably weekly or bi-weekly, as we move closer into getting ready for the fall semester, so that people can continue to see the updates repeated often. Dana, do you see anything? I'm trying to watch too.
There's some questions about parking. I'm going to put that in the chat in a minute. I just want to get the link about the parking.
Okay.
I also just want to reiterate, I did put in the chat that the student vaccine mandate is not a CUNY or a York mandate. It's a mandate that comes from New York State. So that was not something that was determined at a local level. That was determined at a state level. And just a reminder for those who may not be aware, students are required to have a number of vaccines right now when they do enroll, such as MMR, meningitis. And so in the same way that the state has mandated those vaccines, this was a similar type of process. There's some particular ADA questions. We're asking students to please email Assistant Dean Varus with those questions specifically, so we're not discussing your private needs over a group chat. You can have a little privacy in discussing the specifics of the concerns.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can I just jump in and do an update of the capital that I left off? So it's been a very busy year and a half while folks have been gone. All of the capital projects that have been ongoing are coming to fruition at this point. The elevators and escalators have been completely replaced, and those are online effective like this week or next week. They passed inspection and they're functioning and ready to roll. The faculty dining room is literally just the plastic needs to be removed from the flooring, and that's ready to roll. They're just doing finishing touches on that room. The 2 lecture halls are essentially complete. The one issue that we have with the lecture halls is the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi boxes that have been on order for quite some time have been delayed due to the global chip shortage. And right now, the lecture halls will be completed except for the Wi-Fi that is available in those rooms. And so we don't have control over that. They were ordered months ago, and they told us that they were originally due within the next 2 weeks. And now they're saying it may be until November that we receive the Wi-Fi responders. So it's again beyond our control, and it's due to what's going on across the world right now due to COVID and the chip shortage. So that's largely. Oh, and the labs that have been completely done. Those are again at the final stages. They expect all of the capital projects will be completed by mid-September. Except for the Wi-Fi for the lecture halls. Everything else will be completed, and the shed anyone that has been on campus, the shed that is in the lobby will be removed in the next 2 weeks. We have our their commitment on that. And so we're actually, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much work has been done over the last year and a half.
So let me also add, from the perspective of communication, our next step is to make just a few more decisions. And then we will be posting our reopening plan. We will actualize a brand new communication plan to push out some more messages. And our website needs to be updated, right? We need to be sure the students know where to look for information and where the faculty and staff need to look at information. So I will promise that we're going to make sure that we're looking at that, and we look at the website from the perspective of somebody who's trying to find as many answers as we have.
Charles, there's some additional questions about rodent and pest extermination. And there's a question about mold and asbestos.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to address that.
We have maintained our pest control throughout. There is no evidence of any infestation whatsoever across campus. I've been in countless, literally hundreds of rooms over the last 3 months, and there is no evidence of anything. So, we're in a good place there, and we will continue to do rodent pest maintenance on an ongoing basis. I'm sorry, what was the other question that you had, Dana?
Extermination,
Yeah.
mold concerns, and asbestos concerns.
I'm not aware of any asbestos issues whatsoever. That would be news to me. And mold, there is no evidence of mold anywhere. We have been, again, aggressively cleaning, and again, no evidence of mold. So I'm not sure where the basis of the question, but
So Charles,
yes.
let me just jump in with asbestos. The buildings are too young for asbestos. By the time these buildings were built, they were not using asbestos as you would typically experience in older buildings. So that's
So Kachi, what you're saying is not possible.
Yeah,
that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, asbestos stopped being used in the early 70s, and the core academic building was completed in 1986.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we have somebody said so they want you to check the H ring for rodents. So now maybe not everybody's the same place with that, but that's okay. We'll stay on top of it. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Let's keep on looking. I'm gonna move to, if we're good with facilities, I will tell you all, the escalator elevator is beautiful. We have painting projects going on. It's clean. The floors are shining. I wanna remind everybody that clean and old are not the same thing. So we do have a college campus that may not have had as much maintenance in some places over the years, but it is very, very clean. Thank you. We'll have somebody check up on the other things. What's going on with financial aid office? There's some people looking for some responses, I take it. They have been waiting for time since the document was, okay. So I will put that out there for somebody to follow up. My understanding is that all of the service front-facing offices, the big five, they're helping with the pipeline of getting students in, have a phone system, an email system, and a follow-up system for prompt follow-up. So thank you for that.
Kachi
Okay.
and Charles, there are some questions. There are some folks who are writing that there are several signs around campus, specifically in the gymnasium, about asbestos.
so I could jump on the window one, if you don't mind, Charles.
Yeah.
In 2018 or 2019, I don't know when the sign you're talking about specifically came out, but in roughly 2018, 2019, the EPA came out with, what they call it? One of their bulletins or something like that to talk about some windows that were manufactured, I forgot the year, had asbestos in one of the linings of the windows. And so people took extra precaution in those instances. So if you saw it by a window, it probably was in response to that EPA bulletin or notice. I dealt with it in a previous life where I was before, but that is not to say the rest of the building was built with asbestos containing material. In fact, most of those windows, most people installed them without knowing that this was the situation. So I hope that clarifies or addresses that question.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. This is the way we get questions answered and we keep things flowing. Thank you. And when there's repeats, please, we'll just continue to repeat ourselves also. Dana, where does this apply to classroom and science buildings? Kachi, that's yours, I think. Is that question about the asbestos? I don't know, maybe it's not. That last one, I'm sorry.
I know there was a question about which room is being taken offline because there are two lecture halls in the science high school building. I don't know the exact number, but it's one of the two. They're identical rooms. And as soon as we get that, I told Charles, we'll provide that information. It's either 131 or 133. They're next to each other, but not both of them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There's a few questions in the chat about teacher education and observation of classes.
I think we have to defer to the chair to respond to that, actually, unless
Okay.
the provost has something else. It's particular to the department. I know that they've been working on that. And actually, the provost is next, so I can move to him if that's okay. Leslie, are you gonna
President
speak?
Eanes?
Yes, yes.
This is Leslie Kyler. I'm here if you want me to address them, or we
Go
can
for
do
it. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
That's fine.
So each teacher education class will have students completing their fieldwork assignments. For the 300 level classes, we anticipate that students will be in schools fulfilling those fieldwork assignments. The NYC DOE is letting teacher education candidates back into schools. All student teaching is going to be required to be full-time in schools. That's the state requirement. For our 200 level classes that require field work, professors are putting in their Blackboard what the field work assignments will be and how students will be able to fulfill those. So for 200 level classes, there may be virtual fieldwork assignments. For 300 level classes, we anticipate that students will be in schools. For student teaching, students must be in schools.
Thank you, Leslie. That's very helpful. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, Provost Derek, are you ready? And then after that, Dana, I'm coming to you for your official coronavirus liaison update, okay?
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, President. I just wanted to talk briefly about teaching modalities, how that was established, and where you can get information to explain the different modalities. So I'm going to share my screen briefly. So the process for determining the modalities, first we took our fall schedule and mapped it to rooms, focusing on those high flex rooms. Those high flex rooms are rooms that have the technology to do both in-person and online instruction simultaneously. We then provided all the department chairs with those potential room assignments for the courses. We then asked them to reach out to their professors and confirm with the instructors that those rooms were okay and what modality they wanted to teach. We gave them time to change instructors if necessary, and to suggest other courses that they would like to have in person in case those weren't already listed. Once we got all that information, the dean and the provost, myself, confirmed with the chairs and then worked with the registrar to go ahead and update the schedule of classes. And so in the fall, we're going to be having 5 different modalities of teaching. The first is the first group of 3, all contain an in-person component. So we have in-person classes. So in this case, all class sessions are going to be in person. There are no online class sessions. Course schedule will indicate the days and the times of the class sessions. And of course, public and health and safety guidelines will be in place, as was stated by Russell. The second type is hybrid. And in the case of hybrid, some class sessions are going to be in person, some class sessions are going to be online. So it's going to be important that if you have a hybrid course, that you check on the course Blackboard site for the specifics of the class session meetings. The third type that has an in-person component are high flex. So these classrooms contain high flex technology, which allows the class to be offered in person and synchronously online. Again, please check on the course Blackboard site for specifics of when the in-person classes are going to be and what the participation expectation is going to be. So those are the 3 types that have in-person components. There are 2 additional types that have no in-person components, so they are fully online. There's online synchronous, in which case all class sessions are online on specified days at specified times. There are no in-person sessions. Students are expected to participate in class on the scheduled days and times. Assignment submissions and assessments are online via Blackboard. And then the other is online asynchronous, where again, all class sessions are online. However, there are no specific days or times. Course learning interaction takes place online via Blackboard. Activities include, but are not limited to, online discussion boards, readings, and assignment submissions. Again, please check on the class Blackboard site for the specifics of class participation and what the expectations are. All of these definitions are posted on the registrar's page, So if you go to the registrar's page and look, again, it'll give you all those definitions. And those are the definitions that you will see when you go into CUNY first associated with your courses. And I think I'll leave it to that and open it up to questions.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Derek, do you need any help with the chat? We're gonna all be helping each other. We've been looking at themes, and there's a question about the hybrid class plan means for students who are immune compromised. So I think some of this is gonna be, what I may ask that we do is, Dana, let you talk a little bit about this, the vaccination and the testing. Is that helpful? And then, because it seems like the questions are intermingled. Am I seeing that right? There's a medical exemption, right? I can't hear you.
I can try to address some of those questions.
Okay, all right. Just before we leave that, other than the exemption and the vaccination, are there any questions for Provost Derek about the modalities? And we will have those posted other places. And we do see, and we're addressing, we did put some response in there to the staff parking question. All right, Danny, you can go for it.
Thank you. So just a few minor updates before we get to the more significant questions. So we are, just so you know, we are no longer reporting to the Department of Health. We have not had a positive case of COVID reported to us in some time. It's been several months. None of the CUNY schools are reporting. So for those of you who would frequent to go on the Department of State website to look at those numbers are no longer being updated. That can change if there is a public health need for those numbers to be reported again. So we are mindful of that. So there's going to be a combination of either vaccine requirement or testing on campus, with the goal of everyone either being vaccinated or being tested. That's really the overall goal, so that no one on campus sort of has an unclear status, right? So yes, there are concerns that, and I see those concerns in the chat. There is a process by which the vaccines are currently used under an emergency protocol. The vaccines go through FDA approval in order to be officially approved. The university is moving forward with knowing that those vaccines will be approved at some point, whether it's 2 weeks from now, it's 4 weeks from now, it's the week of classes, it's 2 weeks into classes. But the governor, the state, I should say, has imposed a mandate on CUNY and SUNY students to be vaccinated. That's not a York mandate. It's not a CUNY mandate. It came from the state. That is not something that we have. That is not something that we have an option to adhere to or not to adhere to. And there are lots of folks who are not comfortable with the vaccine and have feelings about it. I'm just stating what I know to be true about the policy. So
can I ask a question?
Can I just finish presenting, please? Thank you. And if you put your question in the chat, I promise I'll get to it. So where we are is that within the next week, there will be a process by which students can begin to upload their vaccine information. It will be a similar process to how other vaccines information is submitted to health offices on campus when students are admitted. Our campus, along with all the others, has an Immunization Authority. That's a new title. That person is the same person on most campuses who is currently responsible for immunization. And on our campus, that is Marva Frederick in Health Services. The students will have a process in which they can upload their information. Once CUNY has provided us with what that process is, it's an app, it's a portal, it's you're logging on to CUNY first. As soon as we have that information, we will be sharing that widely and broadly. on the web, on email, on social media, and there will be a deadline associated with submitting that information. Along with that process will be a process for medical and religious exemptions. And those medical and religious exemptions will be considered at the same time. So both processes, we are hopeful, will be rolled out by CUNY within the next week. That was the last update that we had on Thursday. So that's the information about vaccines and what we know to be true right now. There is no mandate for faculty and staff, but so yes, the immunization deadline, they has been posted as August 10th. What I will say is I'm saying that if they don't get the system up and running this week, it may be difficult for folks to meet that deadline, but let's be confident that that will be rolled out quickly and we can get the information out to students quickly. But that is the deadline that has currently been, that's the deadline that's currently been posted. There will be a testing protocol on campus. There is a vendor that has been selected who will be conducting testing on campus. That testing will be free. There is no charge for the testing. The details are being worked out. If faculty, there is still negotiations going on, and Russell, if you have any updates to this, there are negotiations going on with the union about what the process will look like. So ideally, I think we would like for faculty and staff to be able to self-identify and submit information if they've been vaccinated so that they don't have to participate in the testing protocol weekly. But that, so you would have a choice. You don't have to identify as being vaccinated, but then you would have to submit to the testing protocol for everyone's safety. So that piece is still being worked out, but the testing will be happening on campus. It's not going to be every person that walks in the door. There's going to be some level of randomized testing so that it's not the same people walking in at 9 o'clock every morning getting tested. There will be some randomized protocol for the testing. On some of the campuses, I can't tell you what it's going to be at York yet. And on some of the campuses, there'll be a tent at an entrance. On some campuses, there will be a van. On some campuses, it will be in an atrium. It all depends on the way the campus is laid out and safety protocols, right? So we don't want 100 people standing in a little space at an entrance, creating a hazardous condition. So that will be determined with campus coordinators. There's a question in the chat about what the actual test is. We will have that information. It will be public as well as the vendor. As soon as we get that, we will share that information. There was an RFP process through CUNY to select the vendor. And that is how the vendor would be used. And the same vendor will be used on all of the campuses. There will be some process, what do we want to call them? There will be some exemptions. For example, if folks have tested positive for COVID in the past 90 days, folks can't get vaccinated or haven't been vaccinated, there will be special accommodations for those folks in getting on campus. We will not be using Everbridge anymore, mainly because Everbridge has had some of its challenges, and there is not high confidence that it will be able to handle the level of return to campus that CUNY is looking for. So Everbridge will not be used. There is some conversation about Excelsior being used, the Excelsior app, but we know that there is some limitations to the Excelsior app. So for example, If you have gotten vaccinated in a different state or you are not a New York State resident, that can present some complications to using Excelsior. So again, within the next week or so, we are hoping to have this information so that we can give folks some peace of mind about the transition back to campus and communicate it widely and clearly. There's a question in the chat about whether the campus will have the results of the test. The answer is yes. The campus will have the results of the tests because we will have to report those to CUNY. And so, for example, if we do a randomized sampling and whatever the state limits are, if there's a certain percentage of folks who are testing positive on campus, there may have to be some choices made about reduction of the number of people on campus, or in a very extreme situation, potentially closure. So that is why the information would have to be shared. And if folks are testing positive, the campus would have an obligation to share that information with relevant people. So it may be your colleague working in the desk across from you. It may be the folks in your classroom. That's why the information would need to be. There will be a process where testing results will be accepted from an off-campus vendor, but you will still have to conform to whatever the testing requirement is. So if they say folks have to be tested once a week and you would rather go to your local urgent care and get the testing done, you will have to submit that to the local, you will have to submit that to us weekly. You don't get out of submitting it to us, but there will be an option that way. I don't know that I have there's a question in the chat about what quarantine protocols will be if someone tests positive. That is not information that was discussed at the meeting last week. There is a meeting this week, and I can certainly bring that up or see if the information is shared. Trying to keep up with the chat. If I missed it, throw it back in. So there will be, my understanding is that there will either be, and it's all about everyone's comfort level. The technology may be there, but it's about how you want to use it. You will receive, there will be an option for you to receive test results, I believe either using an app or through cell phone. So you can receive or email. So you'll be able to receive your testing results in a variety of modalities. So your college is, answering the questions, your college is moving forward with and CUNY is moving forward with the assumption that the vaccines will be approved imminently. It could be next week, it could be 3 weeks from now, it could be 7 weeks from now. But because there is a state mandate in place that will trigger the moment that those vaccines are approved, the campus has to be prepared in encouraging students to get vaccinated if they are taking in-person classes. If students, sorry, I'm just trying to read the rest of the question. The chat's going fast. Unvaccinated students will not be permitted to attend in-person classes. That is where we are right now. It could be January 2022, Scott. It could be, I mean, it's a process. It's an FDA process. I think all we can do is wait. It's nothing we have control over.
So Dana, I'm going to ask Lori to step in, and you can't do both. So I want us to both, we'll watch it for you and then we'll help you, okay? Because it's hard to do both, okay?
I think that's all the information. I think that's all the information that I have from the meeting last week. So I don't have any additional information, so I can.
So I'll say a couple of things and everybody keep it. Again, we're going to have a lot of updates. The websites are going to be updated. There will be some communications coming out directly. You do have updates on physical space, the air filters, the cleanliness, the capital projects. You do know that we are ready for you to register for class, and we want you to come back in person, right? You do have the guidelines for how many days on campus for the 2 weeks that we're still on 4-week for staff, and the 2 days on the months, the 2 days for the weeks in August, where we're still on 4 weeks, and then how it's going to go after that. And we will be posting our reopening plan and be directing you to that via the website also. You know the process for hybrid, high flex, and synchronous. So I know that there continue to be a lot of questions there. I'm going to ask that the provost keep his eye on those questions, all right? Then I will make sure that, Claudio, you let people know how they find the recording of this town hall. So we're doing great. We're doing great. Thank you everyone for your cooperation and your collaboration. We're not going to be able to do this unless we do it all together. I did want to emphasize those students that are having any challenges with any of those wonderful front-facing offices that serve our students so well. Our registrar, our bursar, our financial aid office, academic advising, right? And I'm missing one. I got everybody, but one I was missing. So any of those offices, please, please, please make sure that you're reaching out. They do have a system in place so that you can get the follow-up that you need, but they also have very robust websites. So if you have questions, please go there to that particular office to get your questions answered. All right, does anybody, Dana, I'm ready, I'm back to you. Anybody
Wait,
else?
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in because Dana,
Yep.
a question keeps repeating from Linda Roboto. There are students who attend non-matric programs such as adult literacy who have never had any vaccine mandates and never have to have proof. How do we advise students to proceed in the fall regarding their vaccines?
I think that's a question for Marva. If those students have never turned in vaccine information regularly, then I would think it would follow suit that they would not, but that they will have to submit to the testing protocol. But Linda, let's get on an email together. If you want to send me a note, and I will link up some folks so we can confirm that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, for that. Good save. Thank you. There were some questions about the bathrooms, how often they're going to be cleaned. People asking about cleaning. Anybody want to jump in there?
Yeah, so I know there was an issue with cleanliness of the bathrooms previously. I will tell you that they're cleaner than they've ever been before, and they will be cleaned more frequently than they were before, including the electrostatic. That's the perfect location to use the electrostatic cleaning. It disinfects everything on contact. So they will be cleaned more frequently than they have in the past.
All right, does anybody want to talk about the door project?
Sure, I can jump in. The ADA door project will be kicking off sometime in September, October. The Guy Brewer, the first door that will be replaced will be the one on Liberty, and that will be closed for a period of 2 to 3 months. That's the next that will be closed will be Guy Brewer entrance, and that will be closed again for 2 or 3. And then the third set will be on the other side, the opposite side from Guy Brewer, and the Union Hall entrance, which is not generally used as an entrance anyway, but those will be closed simultaneously since one of them is not used regularly anyway. So the duration of that project is essentially through the academic year. So we expect the completion by around May or June of next year.
Part of that question, Charles, also is providing similar doors in other buildings, and we could say that's a work in progress at the moment, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean that's a separate capital project. It is on the docket, but that's not funded yet, so we don't have control over that.
And also the ADA work at York College is a long-term, it has short-term pieces, but is a long-term project. It will be ongoing and we will be aggressive, but it will not happen overnight. We do have to go through a process, but we also have to extend it because there's some work we got to do. Thank you for the questions there. And we are going to address it. Actually, in the fall, I will ask that Kachi and Charles visit with the Senate to talk a little bit about our larger ADA conversation with other groups, so people can get updates about how much we need to have done.
Sure.
Okay, we have a vaccinated question, Dana. It just came in.
We have a provost question. Provost, is it too late to change classes so that they can switch to in-person, online classes?
Absolutely not. Their registration is still open for the fall. Students can still go ahead and register for courses just as you normally would.
Okay, okay, very good. All right, so we want to be sensitive to people's time. I will ask people to continue to, just for the minutes they have left, to continue to chime in, to put things online. If you cannot, I am going to be asking the team to consider developing a fall reopening help email address. So there's a place for people to ask for help. Continue to encourage people, please, to register and prepare themselves to come back to campus and for us to continue with our reopening process. I think everybody's very excited to be together again, and also in great need for us to move on and go back to being more together, but also make sure that we watch the health of our campus and we keep things moving in a safe way. So FDA approval, do you want to say anything about the FDA approval? Why that's just I think you just need to repeat that part, Dana, how that works, right? It's just repeating what you said.
So I think Russell just put something in the chat as well.
You want me to jump in?
Yeah.
Real quick. So the mandate is that are mandated under New York State, decision to be vaccinated, but that decision will only be implemented upon FDA approval. We do not know the day that approval will come in. If it comes in after the first day of classes, we are not permitted to enforce that requirement. However, students who are unvaccinated who choose to attend classes will be doing so essentially at their own risk. And this is all in compliance with New York law. We don't have discretion on this.
And will be required to be masked if they're not vaccinated.
All right. I also will ask that we, with some of the accessibility questions, I will ask that I will make sure that we follow up offline a little bit regarding those things. I think that there is some interesting feedback there that I'd like to ask that we have a chance to go back to look at. Lori?
Yes, is Claudio on the line? Can you share where this recording will be placed?
Yes.
Yes, I'm on the line, and I will provide that information as soon as the recording is available to us. It takes between 45 minutes to a few hours, depending on the length of the meeting.
So I guess what she's asking though, Claudio, is are we going to put a link on the front page that says town hall recording? They just need to know where to go to find it. That's all.
Yes, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Academic calendar is online, right? All that information is online. Go to the registrar's website, please. It's all there. Thank you. We know people are going to be doing things at their own comfort level. We just want to be sure that the parameters and the processes are available for you to know where to go and how to get things done. We need to keep on moving and make sure that we help the students, faculty, and staff continue to move along in the way that is the most healthy, safe, and conducive to us moving the institution along. So thank you for that. Okay. All right, so it feels like we've kind of gotten to the point where we're having some repeat questions, lots of rich comments. Thank you everyone for your time. Keep in mind, you have a specific question to a specific office. Please find a way to get the question to the appropriate person, or of course, to email the president's office or to email if it's a student issue, student development. So let's just keep on trying to figure out a way to reach out and to receive those comments. I do not believe there was a comment about the professors that choose to not get vaccinated. And we will be making a decision about masks and have that information out for everyone soon.
But it should be that, again, any person who's not vaccinated, the default is that all individuals will be required to be tested on a regular basis.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm sorry, this is Sabrina, to add to what Russell just said, testing as well as wearing a face covering will be required for anyone who does not disclose vaccination status or is not vaccinated.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to bring us to a close. I'm going to thank everybody for their time. I hope this was helpful and informative. We will be updating our website. Thank you to the reopening team. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please stay nimble. We will continue to record and post our reopening town halls. We will continue to update the website. We will also be sending messaging. I will be asking HR to send HR relative repeat messages so people know where to go. And please continue to stay safe and try your best to enjoy your summer and stay healthy, all right? And we will post the recording on the website. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Be safe, take care.